Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I'll try the flagship IEMs of FiiO, the FX17. These are quite special, these are the top of the line, and these are not your regular run-of-the-mill IEMs, and I have a little surprise for you, but I don't want to spill the beans. These are using a combination of dynamic driver, balanced armatures, and several electrostatic drivers used in a 5-way configuration. Their body is carved from pure titanium. As you can see, these are looking quite striking, and also this cable is quite a special one as well. It uses a combination of monocrystalline, gold, copper and silver conductors, and I'm pretty sure after listening to these ones there are not additional ladders to climb. These will cost you 15-90 euros here locally, and these are going for $14.99 in the USA, but I'm not sure for how long, and I believe it's the right time to check this out. Let's go. As you can see, their shells are sculpted from pure titanium nuggets on CNC machines. I imagine it's a tedious and time-consuming process, especially considering that titanium is a soft metal, but the end result speaks volumes. In my opinion, these are one of the nicest looking IEM bodies I have experienced so far. They have a shape that follows the lines of my cheek, and their pure titanium housing makes them a bit slippery in my hands. Their shells are slightly bigger than usual due to having 13 drivers per side, but due to smooth lines, these aren't putting a lot of pressure on the ear cavity, and after jogging for an hour or two, I didn't feel a strong sensation of discomfort as I'm usually getting with massive multi-driver IEMs. I've got a big surprise when I started playing with the detachable cable. This is not just a strong and thick cable that I can easily twist and throw in a backpack that doesn't add any microphonics when rubbing against my clothes, but the internal geometry and the conductors themselves are of the highest purity. For starters, it uses only monocrystalline conductors, and that automatically means these are high purity conductors. It's an 8-core, fully balanced braided wire that mixes gold, silver and copper in order to take advantage offered by different materials. You should also know that we have 3 screw-type connectors, a 3.5mm single-ended jack, the stock 4.4mm balanced jack, and surprise, a USB Type-C connector that lets you connect these directly to your phone, tablet or smartphone. And since it's a digital connection, it automatically means there's a dedicated USB DAC in there and a tiny headphone amplifier. It's most probably a system on chip that provides up to 55 milliwatts of power per channel in 16 ohms. There's also a DSP audio decoding chip that supports an 8-band parametric EQ via the FiiO control app. If EQ is your thing, then of course you can tune them according to your needs. As for me, I like my music as pure as possible, so I tested them in their stock form without any EQ applied. I know some of you buy expensive third-party IEM cables, but that's no longer necessary with the FX17, as this is the last cable you'll ever need. We deal with a pure titanium body that houses 13 drivers per side. Also, these, as you can see, are slightly larger than usual. Also, they weigh around 12 grams, which is higher than usual. For example, their FA19 weighs 7 grams, and yes, there is quite a difference. I would say the comfort level is somewhere between okay and good, but it's not really outstanding. The only thing that saved them from being a bad fit, I believe, is their smooth surface, which is slippery, so it's very easy to insert and take them out, and also the shape of the IEMs, which follow the shape of my ear. As you can see, I can insert them pretty easily and take them out. If these were made out of raw matte titanium like the High Zeta, then the comfort level would be lower, since there would be a higher friction with the ear. I can wear these for more than an hour, but I need to make sure to use the right ear tips, otherwise they can fall out, especially when going outside for a stroll. As for tech inside them, as I have mentioned before, we have 13 drivers per each earpiece, one single dynamic driver, 4 custom balanced armatures, and 8 electrostatic drivers. Everything working in a 5-way configuration, naturally having a 5-way crossover. The bass, and especially the sub-bass, is rendered by a lithium-magnesium alloy dynamic driver, custom designed for long excursion and low distortion, exactly how high-quality subwoofers are being made today. The mid-range and the lower treble are rendered by 4 custom-made Knowles balanced armatures. 2 drivers deal with the mid-range and 2 drivers with the lower trebles that, according to FiiO, deliver some denser mids and a more transparent sound. The rest of the treble region is rendered by 8 electrostatic drivers. Why not 4 instead of 8, you might ask? These electrostatic drivers have a lower sensitivity compared to balanced armatures, so that's why they used 8 drivers in order to increase the sound pressure level in the upper treble, leading to a clearer and to a crisper sound without rolling off the energy in the upper treble region. Everything is controlled by a 5-way crossover, which not only ensures a smooth frequency response but also a flat impedance curve, completing the whole affair. Their impedance sits at 16 ohms, but their sensitivity of 104 dB per 1 single milliwatt of power is slightly lower than usual, meaning that you'll need to crank the volume a little bit higher compared to their FA19, but especially to their FH19, which are considerably more sensitive. This is everything you need to know about them, so let's hit some eardrums and let's check them out. The first thing I noticed when I started listening to the FX17 is how incredibly resolving, clean, transparent and detailed these sounded compared to any other IEM that I have tested so far. And when I say incredibly resolving, I mean almost Haiffman Susvara unveiled and T plus A solitary P level of resolution and transparency. Their FH19 and FA19 were already very clean sounding and pretty much on par with upper class planar headphones, but these are something else. These are quite special in this regard. What's interesting about this is that resolution and detail and micro level information is going towards you in a very relaxed way, a very relaxed manner. So these are not stressing yourself with some bright trebles, with some sharp trebles, with some weird echoes or reverbs in the upper treble. That is not happening. So I believe these are somehow time aligned and the treble is just crisp, detailed, but without becoming bothering in long listening sessions. So these are not bringing any kind of listening fatigue or brightness along the way. And of course, I've tried most, or I believe all FiiO IEMs and many other more expensive IEMs from, Haiffman Susvara, Wired, for example, and many others. And those were pretty clear and pretty resolving and so on and so forth, but I believe these are more so. So this is I believe, the most impressive part about the FX17 being clean, highly resolving, but without becoming harsh, without becoming bothersome. This is a very impressive skill. I believe FiiO always wanted to make these top-of-the-line IEMs, but I don't believe they had, the courage or the tools or the knowledge to craft such a impressive sounding, high-end IEM. But this is no longer the case because I'll say bluntly, these are definitely a major leap compared to anything they've done before. I believe the jump from FA9 to FA19 was quite big but not substantial, or the jump from FH9 to FH19 again was big but not substantial. But the jump to FX17 is substantial. It's a big jump. These are sounding like, like the best IEMs that I have ever tried. The second thing that struck me was their soundstage, stereo separation, imaging, and depth. And I know this is a very controversial topic, especially when discussing IEMs that have drivers just sitting millimeters away from the eardrums, but I kid you not, these sounded like some open back dynamic or planar headphones. And if you ever experienced planar IEMs up to this point, then you know these guys succeeded planar IEMs mostly because they provide this bigger sound than usual than your average IEMs, and also in a more natural way compared to balanced armatures. This is exactly what I'm getting with the FX17. The sound is big, is layered, it's very easy to focus on anything, so the imaging is really top-notch. Everything plays inside my head, but all of those notes are not fighting for prime time, so the music is not crowded and I can separate pretty easily each note with the power of my imagination. You know, when listening to open back, big dynamic headphones like Sennheiser HD800S or very open sounding planar headphones like HE1000 Unveiled or Soundstage Unveiled, you have this illusion that you have a big canvas of sounds and everything is emanating from there. You have lots of sounds to your left and to your right, and many other sounds are coming from different altitudes, like from here and from here. And this is a very interesting effect, and I like that part. And this is exactly what I'm getting with the FX17. These do not sound like real regular IEMs, but more like a pair of open back dynamic or planar headphones. I'm not sure how FiiO managed to make these so airy sounding, because again, we have those drivers sitting millimeters away from our eardrums, yet the sound is so big, is so airy, and there is plenty of void space in between the notes. And I know I've used this phrase quite a lot, lots of void spaces in between the notes, and that usually happens with loudspeakers or with open back dynamic or planar headphones. But for the first time, I've experienced something like this in IEMs, because that is what I'm getting from FX17. Overall, I think we have a new kid in town in terms of note separation, soundstage, and imaging. And I don't remember simply getting such a highly focused and airy sound before from a pair of IEMs. The third thing that impressed me was their naturalness and how everything merged together in the frequency response. And I need to tell you that I have a hard time appreciating balanced armatures that deal with the bass, because usually those don't sound very natural in the bass, that offer a layered performance. And I can say the same thing about electrostatic drivers that deal with the treble. Usually they have a little bit of echo, a high reverb, so those are not exactly time aligned. But I cannot say the same thing about FX17, because these are definitely more natural sounding compared to anything that FiiO has made so far. Compared to FA19, compared to FH19, compared to anything they made so far, these are definitely the most organic, natural and time-aligned IEMs that they have ever made. And I'm not sure what ritual dances FiiO engineers made, but clearly these are quite special sounding in this regard. You know, balanced armatures, electrostatic drivers and natural sounding should never be used in the same sentence, but here we are with a natural and organic sounding IEM that uses this tech, that finally does proper justice not only to reference recordings, but also to old music, to my blues and to my jazz collection, that envelopes me fully and lets me go with the flow. I don't know how FiiO was able to create this brightness-free sound that adds a little bit of warmth in the mid-range and a little bit of oomph into the bass, but they did it, and I'm proud of the achievements. And the fourth thing that struck me, but not in a very pleasant way, was their sensitivity of 104 dB versus, say, 190 dB on the FH19. And while it might sound like there is not much of a difference, right? 104, 109 dB, in reality, the difference is actually quite substantial, and I'm not talking about sound pressure level, about the volume. I'm talking about how well driven these can be with some of your devices. For example, they will sound pretty impressive with their USB Type-C connector that you can connect to your smartphone, laptop or whatnot. They will sound resolving, clean, but they won't sound super snappy, super impactful, you know, super dynamic like I know them to be on a powerful digital audio player. I need to tell you that these sounded better, I'd say substantially better, out of a powerful, dedicated digital audio player compared to a USB dongle or Bluetooth thingy. I could go deep with dongle or Bluetooth thingy, and it's not about the volume, it's more about how dynamic, how alive, how punchy, how airy, how 3D these can sound, and the difference is again quite substantial with a nicer sounding digital audio player. So if you have the money for the FX17, then I believe you have the money for a really nice sounding digital audio player. I tried their USB Type-C jack with my smartphone, and yeah, sure enough, the sound was quite loud. The sound was quite transparent, quite clean, but at the same time, these didn't sound as magical, as 3D, as enveloping, as punchy and dynamic and alive and organic, like they sounded with their own M15S digital audio player, M23 digital audio player, or when connected to the Hibi R6 Pro Max or Onyx XM10 Limited. The difference was not small at all. When discussing dynamics, you should understand that the source that drives them, the headphone amplifier that drives them, has a direct impact. So go with the USB Type-C jack included in the package and they will sound just all right, clean and quite resolving, but don't expect the god of thunder paying you a visit with electronica tracks. For that you'll need more juice, and that's why I believe dedicated digital audio players will offer you a much more complete experience. Initially, I wanted to make a long comparison in between the FH19, FA19 and also with the FX17, I'm sorry. These two I'm using for a couple of months now, these I'm using for about 2 weeks now, but once I'm inserting the FX17, I no longer want to write down any impressions, nothing really. I just want to listen to music, go with the flow, immerse myself into the music and just feel great. Something that rarely happens with the FA19 and FH19. These are great sounding, quite technical, but these are not exactly natural or organic sounding. Something that for me only FX19 delivering, providing so easily. One is super technical and does proper justice to my entire music collection, and while the other two are just technical sounding and sometimes can connect with my tunes, but not always. I will mention that there isn't a frequency response or an audiophile term like soundstage, dynamics, resolution, transparency that FH19 and FA19 are doing better compared to FX17. Unfortunately, these are better in every regard, so be it transparency, resolution, dynamics, naturalness, bass, mid-range and treble. I believe everything is better in here, and that's why you are paying a premium for the FX17. Wrapping up, deep breath. Let me say it out loud that for me, these are the very best sounding IEMs that I have tried in the comfort of my home. I find them better sounding compared to Weston Mach 80, which are more expensive but also great sounding. These are better compared to Hibi Zeta. These are better compared to Harman Svannar Wired, which are more expensive but also great sounding. Better sounding compared to Sennheiser IE900, amazing sounding IEM, but I believe these are slightly better. And also better sounding compared to the FA19 and FH19. And I know you are probably waiting for me to mention at least one single con or maybe 2 cons, as I'm usually doing in my videos. But except for a lower sensitivity of 104 dB that compels you to buy a nicer digital audio player, I cannot see any other con with this one. I find them fantastic sounding on every musical genre I tested, and you don't need some audiophile proof recordings. You don't need some perfect sounding, hi-fi recordings. You can go with bad mastered music and they will sound exactly as impressive. You can go with old tunes, old jazz, noisy blues and so on, with old pop or anything really, with new electronica, you name it. These will sound fantastic with every musical genre, for these I'm sure. But please don't get my words for granted. Please try them for yourselves and don't forget to come back and leave a comment below. I want to know what's your experience with the FX17, and I'm sure many others would like to know your opinion as well. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you found this video helpful, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers!